Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's dive into today's story. Have you ever found yourself standing at a crossroads, ready to leave everything behind and start fresh? Well, this is exactly what happened to Emma when she bought a ticket to leave. But what she didn't expect was that someone would buy a ticket to follow her. She took a deep breath, staring at the departure board one last time. The decision was made. No turning back. She nodded, a bit flustered. Who was this guy? And why did he seem so familiar? She sat down in her seat, buckling her seatbelt as Liam slid into the seat next to hers. He glanced at her and smiled once more. For a moment, everything felt still. Could he be the reason she was truly running? Or was he just another detour? Stay tuned for the next part of Emma's story, as the truth behind Liam's mysterious intentions slowly comes to light. As the plane ascended into the sky, Emma's thoughts swirled around her like the clouds outside the window. She wasn't sure what to think about Liam's sudden appearance, or the strange pull she felt toward him. Her fingers lightly traced the edge of her seat as the cabin lights dimmed, and she settled into the deep, unfamiliar silence. She had spent the last few months preparing herself for this new chapter of her life. Leaving the city behind, leaving the heartbreak, the dead-end job, and everything that weighed her down. This was supposed to be her fresh start, the escape she had been dreaming of. Yet, here was this man sitting beside her, someone who seemed to be connected to her fate in some inexplicable way. She couldn't help but wonder, what was his story, and why was he following her? Do you ever feel like you're running away from something, but not really sure where you're going? Liam's voice broke through her thoughts, soft but steady, like a calm breeze on a stormy day. Emma blinked, startled by the question. She turned to face him, trying to keep her expression neutral. Liam nodded slowly, his gaze fixed on the seat ahead of him. There was a long pause before he spoke again. Emma felt a chill run through her. It wasn't just the cold air of the plane. There was something about the way he spoke, like he knew exactly what she was going through. But how could he? She didn't know this man. Yet, his words somehow felt personal, like he had been in her shoes before. She looked down at her hands, fiddling with the edge of her sweater. She didn't want to talk about her past, about the things that pushed her to make this decision. But Liam's presence was disarming, and she found herself speaking without thinking. For the first time, Liam turned to look at her fully. His gaze was steady, calm, and understanding. It felt like he was seeing her for the first time, not just the woman sitting next to him, but the real Emma, the person behind the smile and the nervous fidgeting, the one who had dreams, fears, and a heart that needed mending. Emma looked up at him, meeting his eyes for the first time. She wasn't sure what to make of his words. Was he talking about her, or was he talking about himself? There was something about him, something hidden beneath the surface, that she couldn't quite place. Liam's smile was faint but kind. No one ever is, he said, settling back into his seat. But sometimes, the only way to truly start over is to face the things that have been holding you back. Whether you like it or not, they follow you, until you make peace with them. Emma leaned back in her seat, staring out the window, lost in thought. The hum of the plane and the low murmur of voices from the other passengers created a strange sense of peace. She had to admit, Liam's words made sense. She had always run away from the hard stuff. Her past, her mistakes. But could she really leave it all behind and start fresh? She didn't have the answers, and part of her wasn't sure she was ready to find them. As the flight continued, Emma's mind began to drift again. She thought about what Liam had said, about the possibility of facing the past instead of running from it. And though she wasn't ready to admit it, part of her felt like maybe, just maybe, Liam was right. Hours passed before the plane finally began its descent. Emma sat up straighter, her stomach flipping as she realized that she was about to land in a city that felt both foreign and familiar. She was about to start over. But this time, it wasn't just about running away. It was about finding herself, too. The plane touched down smoothly, and as the seatbelt sign turned off, Emma gathered her things. She glanced over at Liam, who was already collecting his belongings, his eyes distant but calm. She wasn't sure what he meant to her yet, but there was something about him that made her want to know more. "Thanks for the company," she said as they both stood, ready to disembark. Anytime, Liam replied with a soft smile. And remember, running away doesn't always solve everything. But starting over? That's where the real change begins. Emma nodded, unsure of what to say. She turned toward the door, ready to step into the next chapter of her life. But as she walked down the jet bridge, she couldn't help but think about Liam's words. Maybe she wasn't just running away. Maybe, just maybe, she was running toward something new. As Emma stepped off the plane and into the unfamiliar terminal, the rush of people, the overhead announcements, and the hum of rolling suitcases seemed to blur together. Her heart beat faster, and the weight of her decision pressed against her chest. This was it, the beginning of her new life. She glanced around the airport, taking in the bright lights and polished floors, trying to steady her nerves. The reality of what she had just done was sinking in. She had left everything behind. The city, the life she had known, the relationships that had kept her tethered to a place she no longer wanted to be. Now, she was standing on the edge of something new. But did she have what it took to make it? "Excuse me, miss? Are you Emma Brooks?" A voice interrupted her thoughts, pulling her back into the present. She turned to see a man in a tailored suit, holding a sign with her name on it. His presence was striking, well-groomed, confident, with a hint of authority. In his posture. "Yes, that's me," she said, her voice sounding steadier than she felt. She had expected to be greeted by a cab driver, but this was different. The man smiled and handed her a small envelope. "Mr. Parker has arranged for you to be driven to your accommodation. He's expecting you for dinner this evening." The mention of Mr. Parker caught her off guard. She had heard the name on the plane, but she didn't expect to be immediately involved with him. Liam Parker, the man who had followed her here, without explanation or warning. What did he want with her? And why did it feel like she couldn't shake him off, even now that she had arrived in a new city? She took the envelope with a hesitant nod. "Thank you," she said, her voice tinged with curiosity. She was not sure what to expect, but the unease she had felt on the plane was starting to resurface. The driver led her to a sleek black car, and as she climbed into the back seat, the city unfolded before her through the tinted windows. It looked beautiful. The buildings gleamed in the fading sunlight, and the streets were alive with people, energy, and possibility. Yet, as the car moved through the streets, Emma couldn't shake the feeling that something bigger was at play here. Why had Liam Parker arranged all of this for her? What did he expect in return? As they arrived at the upscale restaurant where dinner was to be held, Emma's nerves returned in full force. The restaurant was elegant, with soft lighting, a modern yet welcoming atmosphere, and a quiet hum of conversation. She was escorted to a private room where Liam was already seated, his back to the door. He turned as she entered, standing up as if he had been waiting for her all along. "I'm glad you made it," Liam said with a warm smile, his eyes meeting hers. He gestured toward the chair across from him. "Please, have a seat." Emma hesitated for a moment, but then took a deep breath and sat down. As she did, she noticed that the room was intimate, just the two of them. The dim lighting, the soft background music, everything felt oddly personal. She had no idea what to expect, but she knew one thing for sure. She was no longer in control of the situation. Liam Parker seemed to have a way of guiding things in his direction without her even realizing it. "I wasn't sure what to expect when you said you wanted to meet," Emma said, trying to break the tension. "I've just arrived, and I didn't expect to be thrown into a dinner with you so soon." Liam smiled, his expression calm, but there was a hint of something in his eyes that Emma couldn't quite read. "I understand. I like to get straight to the point. I didn't want you to feel lost in a new city, so I arranged for dinner. And I thought it might be good for us to talk. You're not the only one who's running away, Emma. You might not even realize it yet, but your story is part of something bigger." Emma looked at him, her curiosity piqued. "What do you mean?" Liam paused for a moment, his gaze thoughtful, as if weighing his words carefully. "I've seen a lot of people try to run from their problems, but what they don't realize is that they often end up chasing the same problems wherever they go. It's about understanding why you're running and whether it's worth it to face those things head on." Emma felt the weight of his words, but she wasn't ready to open up. She wasn't ready to dive into the past she was trying to leave behind. "I'm not running from anything," she said, though the doubt lingered in her voice. "I'm just trying to start over. That's all." Liam nodded, as if he understood completely. Starting over is harder than most people realize. It's not just about leaving one place for another. It's about leaving behind the things that hold you back. But it's also about having the courage to face the things you fear the most. Emma didn't know how to respond. She didn't want to discuss her past, her mistakes, the life she had left behind. She wasn't sure what Liam expected from her, but she could feel the pressure of his words weighing on her shoulders. Was he trying to help her, or was he trying to make her see something she wasn't ready to face? As the evening wore on, the conversation shifted away from personal matters, and the meal progressed with light talk and small smiles. Yet, in the back of Emma's mind, Liam's words echoed. There was something more to this dinner than just a welcome to the city. She wasn't sure what Liam was after, but it was clear that she wasn't just a stranger to him. She was a part of something bigger, and she wasn't sure if she was ready to accept that. Stay tuned as Emma continues her journey, and as the mysteries surrounding Liam Parker and his intentions unfold. The next few days passed in a blur for Emma. She had settled into her new apartment, a place that felt both foreign and strangely comforting. The city outside her window was a far cry from the life she had left behind, yet the quiet emptiness in her apartment mirrored the emotions that still tugged at her heart. She had made the decision to start over, but starting over wasn't as easy as she had hoped. The weight of her past, of everything she had tried to escape, still lingered in her mind. Her phone buzzed, breaking the silence. It was a message from Liam. "I'm having an event at the gallery tonight. I'd like you to join me. It's a chance for you to meet some important people in the city, and I think you'll find it interesting." Emma stared at the message for a moment, her thoughts swirling. A part of her wanted to decline. She wasn't ready to dive into the world Liam was offering her. But another part of her, the part that was still uncertain and searching, couldn't help but feel a pull toward him. She didn't have many friends here, and she wasn't sure how long she could keep pretending that everything was fine. Maybe this event could offer a distraction. Maybe it could be the opportunity to find something new. She typed a quick reply. "I'll be there." That evening, Emma stood in front of her mirror, adjusting the collar of her jacket. She had never felt more out of place than she did now, standing in the middle of an upscale art gallery. The walls were adorned with paintings, sculptures, and photographs, each piece more expensive than anything she had ever owned. The guests in the room were well-dressed, polished, and clearly at ease in this world of wealth and sophistication. Emma felt like an outsider, like a piece of broken glass trying to fit into a picture-perfect frame. When she arrived, she immediately spotted Liam. He was standing by the entrance, greeting guests with the same calm, composed demeanor he always had. He turned as he saw her, his face breaking into a smile that was warm and welcoming. "Emma, I'm glad you could make it," he said, his voice smooth and confident as always. "Thanks for inviting me," she replied, trying to sound more confident than she felt. She looked around the room, feeling the weight of all the eyes on her, as if they knew she didn't belong. Liam noticed the way she was looking around, and he gave her a knowing smile. "Don't worry. Everyone here is just like you, in their own way. They're all just trying to find something." Emma gave him a skeptical look, unsure of what he meant, but before she could ask, a well-dressed woman approached them, introducing herself as someone from the art world. She was charming, polite, and extremely polished, everything Emma wasn't. They exchanged pleasantries, and soon Emma found herself swept into conversation after conversation with people she barely knew. As the evening wore on, Emma found herself in a corner of the gallery, trying to escape the overwhelming flood of socializing. She had always preferred quiet nights over loud parties, and tonight was no exception. She was lost in her own thoughts, trying to make sense of everything that had happened over the past week. She had come here to start fresh, but it wasn't as simple as she had hoped. The more she tried to escape, the more the past seemed to follow her. The memories of her old life, of the people and places that had held her down, crept back into her mind. Liam's words from their dinner together echoed in her thoughts. Running away doesn't always solve everything. Sometimes, you need to face the things that are holding you back. It was then that she felt a presence behind her. She turned to see Liam standing there, his expression unreadable. "You look like you need some air," he said, his voice soft. "Come on, let's step outside for a moment." Emma hesitated for a moment before nodding. She followed him to the back of the gallery, where the cool night air hit her face. The city lights twinkled in the distance, and for the first time since arriving, she felt a sense of calm. Liam leaned against the railing, watching her. I know this isn't easy for you, he said after a moment. Starting over. It's never just about the new things. It's about confronting the old things, too. Emma didn't answer right away. She wasn't sure what to say. I didn't expect it to be like this, she finally admitted. I thought I'd just leave and everything would be better. But it's not that simple. Liam looked at her, his expression softer now. It never is. But you're here, aren't you? That's the first step. She glanced at him, and for the first time, she saw something in his eyes, something that wasn't just the cool, confident persona he showed everyone else. It was a glimpse of something more real, something raw. Thanks for everything, she said quietly, her voice barely above a whisper. Liam gave her a small smile. Don't thank me yet. The real challenge is still ahead. But I think you're ready. Emma looked out over the city, the lights stretching out before her. She wasn't sure if she was ready for everything that was coming. But for the first time since she arrived, she wasn't so sure she had to face it alone. Stay tuned for the next part of Emma's journey, as she begins to confront the past and step into the future she's been searching for. The next few days passed in a blur, as Emma settled into her new routine. She spent her days exploring the city, trying to get a feel for her new life. The apartment she had moved into felt more like a temporary stop than a permanent home, but it was better than the cramped, lonely place she had left behind. Yet, despite the fresh start, Emma still couldn't shake the nagging feeling that she was carrying something heavy with her, something that weighed her down. She had left her old life, but parts of it clung to her, lurking in the corners of her mind. One morning, as she was sitting at a cafe, sipping her coffee and scrolling through her phone, she received another message from Liam. I'd like to meet you for lunch today. I have something to discuss with you. Let me know if you're free. Emma hesitated for a moment. She wasn't sure if she was ready to dive back into whatever Liam had in store for her. But part of her knew that avoiding him wasn't the answer. She had to face this, whatever it was. So, she typed back a quick reply. Sure, I'll be there. The meeting place was a small, cozy restaurant tucked away in a quieter part of the city. When Emma arrived, Liam was already seated at a corner table, his back to the door. He looked up as she approached and offered her a warm smile, standing to greet her. Glad you could make it, Liam said as she sat down. His eyes were steady, but there was something different about the way he looked at her today, something more serious. Thanks for inviting me again, Emma replied, unsure of what to expect. She had spent the past few days thinking about her conversation with Liam outside the gallery, about the things he had said. And the more she thought about it, the more she realized that he was right in a way. Starting over wasn't just about leaving. It was about confronting everything she had been running from. But could she really do that? Could she face the past and move forward at the same time? Liam seemed to sense the weight of her thoughts. I wanted to talk to you about something important, he said, his tone softer than usual. It's about the next step in your journey. Emma looked at him, trying to read his expression. What do you mean? She asked. Liam leaned forward, his gaze fixed on her. You've been given a fresh start, Emma. But a fresh start isn't enough if you don't know where you're going. It's easy to leave things behind, but it's harder to figure out what you're moving toward. Emma's mind raced. Was this some kind of test? Was he trying to push her into something she wasn't ready for? I'm just trying to figure things out, she said quietly. I don't know where I'm going yet. Liam nodded, his expression thoughtful. That's okay, he said. But what if you could have some direction? What if you could take everything you've learned and start something new? Something that matters. Emma blinked, her curiosity piqued. What are you suggesting? Liam smiled slightly, as if he had been waiting for her to ask. I know you've got a passion for art. I saw it in you when we talked that night at the gallery. What if you could turn that passion into something real? Something that could change your life? Emma felt a flutter in her chest. Her mind was flooded with memories of the sketches and paintings she had worked on in her small apartment. She had always dreamed of opening her own art studio one day, but it had always seemed impossible. How could she ever make that dream come true? Seeing the hesitation in her eyes, Liam continued. I'm offering you the opportunity to partner with me on a project. It's a chance to showcase your work, to take that passion you've been hiding and put it out into the world. I believe in you, Emma. You have the talent. What you need now is a chance to prove it. Emma stared at him, her heart pounding. This was not what she had expected. She had thought they would talk about her personal life, about the struggles she had faced. But instead, Liam was offering her a chance to do something she had only dreamed of. He was offering her a future, the future she had been so afraid to reach for. I don't know, Emma said, her voice wavering. What if I fail? What if I can't make it work? Liam's expression softened, his tone gentle. You won't know until you try. And even if you fail, that's part of the journey. But I believe you can do it. This is your chance to take control of your future. Emma felt the weight of his words settle deep within her. She had always been afraid of failure, of not being good enough. But here was Liam, offering her an opportunity she couldn't ignore. Could she take the risk? Could she believe in herself enough to take the first step? She looked at Liam, searching his face for any hint of insincerity, but all she saw was sincerity. He wasn't pushing her. He was offering her a hand, a chance to grab hold of something bigger than herself. And for the first time since she had arrived in this city, Emma felt a flicker of hope. Maybe this was the direction she had been looking for all along. Okay, she said, her voice steadier now. I'll do it. Liam's smile widened. I knew you would. Stay tuned as Emma takes the leap into the unknown, embracing her future and the challenges that lie ahead. What will happen next as she takes her first steps toward a new beginning? The days that followed were filled with a new kind of energy. Emma threw herself into the project with all the passion and determination she had once reserved for her art, but never thought she could channel into something real. She spent hours sketching, planning, and figuring out how to bring her dream to life. The opportunity Liam had given her wasn't just a chance to showcase her work. It was a lifeline. It was the first real step she had taken toward making her dream of owning an art studio a reality. She met with Liam several times over the next few weeks, discussing ideas, venues, and even the potential for partnerships with other artists. Liam was always calm, collected, and encouraging. He helped her organize everything, from budgeting to finding a space. His belief in her was unwavering, and with every conversation, Emma found herself feeling more confident, more capable. She had never imagined that she could achieve something like this, but with Liam's support, it started to feel possible. Yet, even as the project took shape, there was a nagging voice in the back of her mind. The fear of failure. It had followed her all her life, creeping into every decision, every moment of doubt. What if this wasn't enough? What if she wasn't good enough? What if she fell flat and failed, just like before? The questions never seemed to leave her, no matter how hard she tried to ignore them. One afternoon, as she was sitting in her small studio space, surrounded by piles of sketches and paint supplies, she received a text from Liam. It was simple, yet it sent a wave of panic through her. The gallery is ready. We're opening next week. Are you prepared? She stared at the message for a long time. The gallery was ready. Her dream was about to become a reality. But was she? Was she truly ready for everything that came with this opportunity? She took a deep breath, trying to calm her racing heart. The gallery opening wasn't just a showcase for her art. It was a defining moment. It was her chance to prove to herself and to everyone else that she could do this. She couldn't back out now. Not when everything was finally coming together. The night before the opening, Emma found herself standing in front of a mirror, adjusting her outfit for the event. She had worked tirelessly to get to this point, and yet, all she could think about was the fear bubbling up inside her. What if the gallery didn't attract the right people? What if no one appreciated her work? She tried to shake off the anxiety, but it clung to her like a shadow. You've got this, Emma, she whispered to her reflection, as if saying the words aloud could somehow banish the doubt. You've come too far to turn back now. As she arrived at the gallery the next evening, she could feel the buzz of excitement in the air. The place was stunning. The walls were lined with pieces of art, each one different, each one telling its own story. And at the center of it all was her work, her vision, her passion. It felt surreal. This was the moment she had been working for. When she saw Liam in the crowd, he walked over to her, a proud smile on his face. You've done it, he said, his voice filled with genuine admiration. This is just the beginning, Emma. This is the moment that changes everything. Emma smiled back, but the butterflies in her stomach only intensified. I'm so nervous, she admitted, her voice barely audible. What if no one likes it? What if I've made a huge mistake? Liam placed a hand on her shoulder, his expression serious. You've put your heart into this. That's all that matters. This is about you, not anyone else. You're ready for this. You've always been ready. His words brought a sense of comfort, but the tension in Emma's chest didn't completely ease. She had put everything into this, and now it was time for the world to see it. Would they accept her vision? Would they understand her art the way she had always hoped? As the evening unfolded, guests began to arrive, admiring the works on display. Emma watched them carefully, noticing their reactions as they moved from one piece to the next. Slowly, a sense of pride began to grow within her. People were genuinely interested. They were connecting with her art. She wasn't just another struggling artist. She was someone who had created something that resonated with others. But it wasn't until she overheard a conversation between two women admiring her piece, The Silent Path, that she felt a sense of validation. One of them said, "This piece speaks to me on a deeper level. It's like she's captured the quiet moments we all go through, the ones we try to forget, but never really can." Emma stood there, stunned. She hadn't expected her work to make such an impact. She felt a rush of emotion, pride, relief, and something deeper she couldn't quite place. For the first time in a long while, Emma felt like she was exactly where she was supposed to be. As the evening came to a close, Liam found her again, his eyes lighting up as he saw her standing in front of her art. "I told you this was just the beginning," he said with a smile. "You've made it, Emma. This is only the start of something incredible." Emma looked around at the crowd, at the people who had taken the time to appreciate her work, and for the first time in a long time, she allowed herself to believe that maybe, just maybe, she had made the right choice. Maybe she wasn't just running away anymore. She was running towards something she had always wanted, something she was finally ready to embrace. Stay tuned as Emma continues to navigate her newfound success and the challenges that come with pursuing her dreams. What will happen next in her journey? The weeks following the gallery opening were a whirlwind for Emma. She found herself adjusting to a pace of life that was unfamiliar and exhilarating. Her art was gaining more attention, and with that attention came new opportunities. Invitations to other galleries, requests for commissions, and even a few media interviews started rolling in. The sense of validation she had longed for was finally within her grasp. Yet, as her career began to grow, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was missing, something deep inside her that she wasn't quite ready to face. One evening, as she was cleaning up in her studio after a long day, she found herself staring at the stack of letters on her desk. Among the invitations and thank you notes, one envelope caught her eye. It was from her old city, the place she had left behind. Her stomach dropped as she picked it up, recognizing the familiar handwriting on the front. It was from her mother. Emma hesitated, her hand trembling slightly as she opened the envelope. The letter inside was simple, but the words hit her like a wave. "Emma, I know things have been difficult between us. I know you've been hurt, and I never meant for things to get this way. But I'm asking you to come home. We need to talk. I miss you. Love, Mom." Emma closed her eyes, the weight of the letter sinking in. She had left so much behind, her family, her old life, the painful memories. The letter brought back a rush of emotions she had tried to bury. Her mother had always been there, but after everything that had happened, Emma had distanced herself. The hurt, the misunderstandings, it had all led her to this moment. She thought leaving would be the solution, but now, sitting in her quiet studio, she wasn't so sure. She sat there for what felt like hours, the silence of the room pressing in around her. Should she go back? Was she ready to face her past, to confront the feelings she had tried so hard to escape? The answers didn't come easily. The idea of going back felt like stepping into a storm, but the thought of staying away forever didn't sit right either. The next morning, Emma met Liam for coffee, as they had done many times since the gallery opening. As always, he was calm, collected, and full of encouragement. But today, Emma couldn't shake the weight of the letter. She needed to talk to him, to share the turmoil she had been carrying. "Liam, I don't know what to do," she said, her voice barely above a whisper as they sat in the cozy corner of the cafe. "I got a letter from my mom. She wants me to come back. She says we need to talk." Liam looked at her intently, his gaze thoughtful but kind. "And what do you want to do?" he asked softly. Emma hesitated, the question feeling more difficult than she had anticipated. "I don't know. I'm scared. I thought leaving would fix everything, but now I'm not sure if I've made the right choice." Liam took a slow sip of his coffee, his expression calm as he considered her words. Sometimes, running away isn't the answer. It can be the beginning of something new, but it doesn't erase the things you left behind. You've been so focused on creating something for yourself, but maybe it's time to start facing the things you ran from. If you want closure, if you want to move forward, You need to confront the past, not just escape it. His words struck a chord deep within Emma. She had been so focused on her future that she had avoided the one thing she needed most: reconciliation. She had built a life for herself in the city, but could she really be happy without facing the past? Without mending the broken parts of herself that she had left behind? I don't know if I'm ready to face it, she admitted, her voice trembling. What if it makes everything worse? What if I can't fix what's broken? Liam leaned forward, his eyes meeting hers with unwavering sincerity. You don't have to fix everything right away, but you can start by taking that first step. You don't have to go back to what you had, but you can find peace. That's what matters. Emma's mind raced, but something in Liam's words grounded her. Maybe it was time to stop running. Maybe it was time to go back, to confront the past, and to give herself the chance to heal. She wasn't sure what would happen next, but she knew she couldn't continue pretending that everything was fine. The past wasn't just something to leave behind. It was part of who she was, and it deserved to be faced. As she left the cafe that morning, Emma felt a weight lift from her chest. She wasn't sure if going back was the right choice, but she was ready to take that first step. No matter where it led, she was ready to find closure and, most importantly, find herself. Stay tuned for the next chapter in Emma's journey as she faces the past and takes the steps toward healing, knowing that the future is never as simple as it seems. The next few days were filled with a mixture of emotions for Emma. She had made the decision to return home, to face the family and the past she had tried so hard to escape. The letter from her mother had been the catalyst, but deep down, Emma knew it was more than just that. She had been avoiding the pain for so long, hiding from the hurt that came with her past, but now she realized that healing required facing it head on. Her heart was heavy with doubt, but she was determined to go through with it. It wasn't going to be easy, but maybe it was the only way forward. She packed her things and made the long drive back to the city she had left behind. The familiar streets were both comforting and unsettling. As she passed the places she used to know so well, memories flooded back. Memories of laughter, of arguments, of moments she had tried to forget. And yet, as the car moved through the streets, there was a part of her that couldn't help but feel like she was coming home. It wasn't the same city she had left behind, but she was no longer the same person either. When she finally arrived at her mother's house, Emma felt a lump form in her throat. It looked exactly as it had when she left, a place that was once filled with warmth, now filled with silence. She took a deep breath, bracing herself before knocking on the door. Her mother answered quickly, her eyes widening when she saw Emma standing on the doorstep. The years of separation were reflected in the way they looked at each other, both unsure of what to say or how to act. It had been so long since they had spoken, and the tension between them was palpable. Emma, her mother said softly, her voice shaking slightly. You came. Emma nodded, swallowing the lump in her throat. I didn't know what else to do. I needed to see you. Her mother stepped aside to let her in. The house was quiet, too quiet, and Emma couldn't help but feel the weight of the years that had passed. She had expected things to be different, to be easier, but now she realized how much time had passed and how much had changed. They sat in the living room, facing each other, the silence stretching between them. Emma's mother seemed unsure of how to begin, and Emma felt the same. She had so many questions, so many things she wanted to say, but the words caught in her throat. Finally, her mother spoke, her voice breaking through the tension. I know I've hurt you, Emma. I know things between us have been broken for a long time. But I'm here now. I want to fix things if you'll let me. Emma felt a tear slip down her cheek, but she quickly wiped it away. I don't know how to fix everything, she whispered. I don't even know where to start. Her mother reached out, taking her hand in hers. We start with forgiveness. We start by trying to understand each other. I've made so many mistakes, and I know I can't change the past. But I want to try now. I want you to be a part of my life again, Emma. I miss you so much. Emma stared at her mother, her heart torn between the pain of the past and the hope for something better. She wasn't sure if she was ready to forgive, but she knew that holding on to the anger and hurt wasn't the answer. She had spent so much time running away from the pain, but now, maybe it was time to let go of the past and try to move forward. With a shaky breath, Emma nodded. I don't know if I can forgive everything right away, but I'll try. I'll try to make this work. Her mother squeezed her hand, tears welling up in her eyes. That's all I'm asking for. We'll take it one step at a time, together. The conversation didn't end with easy answers or immediate healing, but for the first time in a long while, Emma felt a sense of hope. It wasn't a perfect solution, and there was still so much work to be done, but she knew that this was the beginning of something. It was the first step toward rebuilding what had been broken. As Emma left her mother's house later that day, she felt lighter than she had in years. It wasn't the end of her journey, but it was a new beginning. She had faced her past, and now, for the first time, she was ready to build something new, something stronger, something whole. Stay tuned for the next chapter of Emma's journey as she continues to face the challenges ahead and discovers what it truly means to heal and move forward. Weeks passed, and Emma continued to settle into her new life. The decision to return home had been the right one. Her relationship with her mother, though fragile, was beginning to heal. They were talking more, understanding each other in ways they hadn't before. It wasn't easy, and there were moments when the old pain resurfaced, but they both knew that rebuilding their bond would take time. It wasn't perfect, but it was real, and that was enough for now. Emma had also continued to grow her art career, the gallery exhibitions, the commissions, and the recognition only adding to her sense of accomplishment. Yet, there was something more she hadn't expected. With each passing day, she felt a deeper connection to the city, to the life she was building here. A life she had once thought was beyond her reach. One evening, after a particularly long day of setting up for an exhibition, Emma found herself sitting on a bench in the park near her apartment, looking up at the stars. The air was cool, and the soft rustling of the leaves felt calming. She had been so focused on the chaos of starting over, the constant push to prove herself, that she hadn't really taken a moment to just breathe and reflect. She had come so far, and yet, it felt like there was still so much to do. The fear that once dominated her thoughts, fear of failure, of not being enough, was still there, but it wasn't as loud anymore. She had learned to listen to it without letting it control her. As she sat there, her phone buzzed. It was a message from Liam. "I've been thinking about your next step. I know you've been doing a lot, but what if you took it even further? What if you could create something that wasn't just about showcasing your art, but also about bringing others into the creative process? I think you're ready for something big." Emma read the message twice, unsure of how to respond. She had always focused on her own work, her own progress. But the idea of creating something bigger, something that involved others, made her heart race with excitement and fear. She had always dreamed of having her own space, her own studio, a place where she could share her love of art with others. The thought of turning her dream into a community, an experience, rather than just a showcase, felt like the next step. Was she ready for that? The next morning, Emma woke up with a sense of determination she hadn't felt in a while. She wasn't just running away from her past anymore. She was building something new, and it was time to take the next leap. She spent the day making calls, arranging meetings with other local artists, and scouting out potential spaces for what could become her very own art studio. It was a big step, but it felt right. She wasn't sure how long it would take or what the road ahead would look like, but she knew one thing for certain. She was ready. As Emma finalized the last of the details, she thought back to the moment she had decided to leave. How uncertain she had felt, how overwhelmed. But now, with every decision, every action, she was finding herself in a way she hadn't before. The person she was becoming was no longer defined by the mistakes of her past. She was defining her future with every step, with every piece of art she created, and with every person she met along the way. When the grand opening of her studio finally came, it was everything she had dreamed of. The walls were lined with beautiful artwork, not just her own, but the work of others she had brought in to showcase. The gallery had turned into a place of community, of shared creativity, and Emma couldn't help but smile as she watched people walk through the doors, admiring the art, engaging in conversation, and sharing their own stories. As the night wore on and the last guests began to leave, Emma stood in the center of the room, taking it all in. She had done it. She had created something real, something that meant more than just personal success. She had created a space where others could find their own voice, their own passion, just as she had. And for the first time in a long time, Emma felt like she was exactly where she was meant to be. As she stepped outside into the cool night air, she took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the journey she had traveled. She had started out running away, but now she was finally running towards something. something that was all her own. And as she looked up at the stars above, she knew this was just the beginning. Stay tuned for more of Emma's journey as she continues to build her future, embracing the challenges and the triumphs that come with pursuing a dream.